Just find the right window. Ugh. Always have too many windows open. There we are. So as I said last time, the original idea for this week is that you work on your own projects and we help you, or we answer your questions. So we can, of course, do that if some of you have projects. So otherwise, you can, of course, also ask general questions about Haskell or Bluetooth or Marlow, or we could do more examples or something like that. But first, let's see whether any of you has any projects you would like to tell us about or that we could help you with.
Or project ideas that you want to explore.
Yeah, sure. I think I can go first.
Please do.
That's okay. Yeah. So there's this idea that I'm thinking through. I don't know how plausible it is. But in general, it's guys come together and they collectively contribute to a smart contract. And then the smart contract, after a period of time, funds a trading bot, right? So this bot just does trading on behalf of using the lump sum from the smart contract. Kind of thinking of starting with the relatively safe trading like arbitrage or day trading. And then once the profit it makes, it kind of calculates the percentages based on all the users who contributed, and then sends those profits to another smart contract, which now distributes those profits back to the list of people who contributed. So there's this small diagram I was drawing. I think I can share it quickly.
Yes, please
on
do.
Discord. So yeah, so that you guys can have a look and yeah.
Can you paste the link maybe in the chat to the diagram or?
Okay, sure.
Or share the screen if you.
Yes, or share the screen. That's also good.
Oh, nice. Let me share the screen then. Okay. Just 1 minute. There we go. Let me know if you can see my screen.
I can see the diagram.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, this is the idea. Step 1, users contribute. That's the funding smart contract. Step 2, after some period of time, let's say a day or a week, or the funds are automatically, a transaction is made, probably I'm thinking by an off-chain transaction, and sent to a trading bot which has a wallet, and then that trading bot again is programmed to trade, and periodically it trades on a DEX, right? So
yes.
So basically thinking of ADA versus Cardano tokens, mean swap, measly swap, all mobile token, all the rest, and then all the profit that it makes, that is number 4, and it sends to another payout smart contract which calculates the shares of whoever contributed how much, and pays out percentages from the profits. So that's the flow listed there, 1 to 4, and then down there I have a number of questions that I've not been able to figure out. So I don't know if you can read them out, or you'd be able to see them and tackle them one at a time.
Sure, let's do this. So the first one, I think I understand the idea. Interesting.
Mm.
So let's see. First question, how do I automate step 2 such that the funding smart contract can be triggered to periodically send funds to the bot off-chain transaction code? And 2 was after defined period, smart contract funds, a trading bot wallet. Right. I mean, you can't, I mean, you can automate it. I mean, well, let's say something. I mean, the trading bot part, I think you can't really do as a smart contract. So that has to be independent anyway, I think. So, I mean, people do need a certain amount of trust in this bot, right? Because I think, a bot has to like make active trades and so on. And I think that would be like an off-chain component, basically the bot itself. So you don't have control over that. I mean, the first part with this, that people invest basically in the bot, and then later the distribution according to percentage how much people invested. I think that can definitely be done by a smart contract. But the middle part, the bot itself, I think that would need to be something that people trust. I'm not sure. Maybe, I mean, if Karina or Robertino have ideas. But yeah, then in that case, I mean, the bot could just, I mean, yeah, I mean, automatically, I mean, probably the bot wouldn't want to send all the funds back because it needs something to play with. But it could, I mean, have like, I don't know, whatever, some baseline that it keeps in, whatever, $1 million ADA it always keeps. But everything after a week, what's the excess amount or a certain percentage of the excess amount would be distributed. I mean, that you could certainly do. But of course, seeing as the bot actively has to send something anyway, I'm not even sure you would need this payout smart contract, because I mean, you have to trust that the bot anyway, I mean, returns the funds. So maybe this first smart contract, the funding smart contract, would be enough, that basically keeps track of who invested how much, and then the bot could directly send the profits back to the people that contributed. But I mean, you could also do it with a smart contract, I suppose, that the bot just sends it to a smart contract, and then people can withdraw according to how much they invested. So,
Or maybe they can,
yeah. Go ahead.
maybe the trading bot can send back to the funding smart contract, and after some period of time take again from the funding smart contract. So if you want to keep investing, you just leave it there. If you want to take it back, you claim your UTXO.
Right.
Just so, like, usually once, if people invest in like S&Ps, indexed funds and stuff like that, they want to set it and forget it. So
yes, yes, that's true. I mean, the bot, I mean, in principle, you could, that the bot always, I mean, that this one, you only have one smart contract. People can pay into that, and then the bot basically can withdraw from that to use it for trading, and the winnings go back into the smart contract. And then at any time, and somehow you must keep track of these percentages. That's true. And then, yeah, I could envision it like that. So you can basically either like invest, send money there, and then the bot does its thing. It takes from there and also pays the wins back there. And at any time, any investor can basically get his share out. So that's, I think Robertino is right. And the only question is, I mean, you said a few people come together. I mean, the easiest would be if everything was just one UTXO. I mean, then it's the easiest to keep track of percentages. But of course, if we are talking about hundreds or thousands of people, then you probably would need more than one UTXO. And then it gets a bit tricky to keep track of the percentages. Then maybe each UTXO, I mean, because I mean, these UTXOs are very independent of each other. So then it becomes a bit tricky to determine the percentage of the whole investment. I'm not sure whether, Robertino, you have an idea there. I mean, the easiest would be to just have one UTXO that's, for example, identified by an NFT. And then one operation would be, and the datum, for example, just is like a map from staking key to how much people invested. And one operation would be invest, where you basically update this UTXO by adding money, and then the datum gets updated to keep track how much you added. And then the bot could always take from there and send back, and people could withdraw, and then the datum would get updated accordingly. So that would be relatively easy. The only problem with that is it wouldn't scale if you have too many people. I mean, I don't know, it's hard to say, but let's say more than 100 or so, then there would be contention for this one UTXO if people want to, because I mean, only once per block can there be a transaction involving that. So that might be a bit tricky.
Maybe, I mean, if we already need to trust the trading bot, why don't we just create UTXOs, as many as we want, with the our key and in the datum, and then the bot does some sort of filtering when it takes X amount of UTXOs, and while consuming those UTXOs calculates off-chain the amount of the percentage of each key, the money of each key, then does the trading, and when it returns, uses those same percentages to create UTXOs back at the contract.
Yes, that's. I mean, but the sending back, would it? Yeah, right. Would it send it to all? I mean, to different UTXOs or just to one?
I think I will create just one UTXO per key. And so after the whole process, the funding smart contracts stays the same, but with ideally more money locked at each UTXO. And in that case, you could actually parallelize multiple trading bots that can like select, for example, 10 UTXOs from 10 or 10 different keys, or maybe between those 10 UTXOs, you just have 5 different keys. The bot doesn't really care because at the time of consuming, calculates the percentages, does the trading. Once it's consumed, you cannot modify what the trading bot has. The trading bot does the trading. When it finished, puts back, and then it's on the same state as before. And then you can do that in parallel with multiple trading bots. And so like the only restriction is that once the trading bot has consumed some UTXOs and started trading, you cannot modify the money that the trading bot has because the percentages have been already been calculated. So that's the only restriction.
Right. Right.
Okay.
I mean, also anyway, I think, I mean, there's different levels of decentralization. I mean, ideally, of course, everything is handled by a smart contract. Then it's completely secure if the smart contract is well written. But I personally think, as long as everything is on the blockchain, even if some steps are like done off chain and you have to trust somebody, at least if people basically on the blockchain can see if you cheat, then it's already like good enough. So in this case, I mean, as long as the investment that people make is basically publicly visible on the blockchain because they send it to a certain address, then I mean you can see afterwards whether the bot correctly distributes the gains. And I mean, you can't enforce that with a smart contract, but at least if you cheat and if the bot, I mean, doesn't do it correctly, then it's visible for the whole world. So the company that does it would immediately be like obviously cheating. So I think that's, I mean, also good. I mean, it's not as good as if everything was in a smart contract, but it's still much better than like it being completely opaque and centralized. So I think that's fine, in my opinion.
Okay, just to add a small bit on the bot.
Yes.
The idea that I had in mind was, so the trading bot would, of course, it's a separate separate code, right?
Yes.
But I was
Yes.
thinking, for the sake of trust probably has a dashboard where these investors can log in and see how it has a dashboard where it logs all the trade it's doing, so that even if it's losing money, they're able to see in
Yes.
real time. And a good fact is that it's like it's trading with tokens, so that data is again available on the blockchain. So
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a good point. Exactly. And I mean, you could even think of, I mean, like the bot itself, I mean, the strategies and so on. I mean, you could even have some system where people can vote on what strategy to use, or, I mean, make that transparent as well, in principle. But yes, with this dashboard, you're right, that then everything the bot does, every single transaction is logged, and people can check it on the blockchain and so on. So yeah, that is good. It's a good point. Just see your other questions. So there is, how do I keep track of users, contributors, details, pub keys, contribution amount, calculate percentage of final lump sum inside the funding smart contract? This data will be used for payouts in step 5. I mean, again, I mean, in principle, I mean, if you just have an address where people send money to, in principle, then the data is already, I mean, on the blockchain. And in Explorer, you could see exactly, I mean, who sent how much to this. So you don't even necessarily need to make it explicit. But of course, you could have, as I said before, you could have a datum or something somewhere that gets updated when people contribute. The only problem there is that, as I said, if it's only one UTXO and there are hundreds of people, then that might be a bottleneck. And if you have different ones, then I mean you somehow have to aggregate that information. But in principle, you could have a datum in this payment funding contract. Each time somebody makes a contribution, basically you update the datum and lock his contribution in there. And I think normally projects keep track of users via the stake key, because normally, I mean, this is maybe not 100% correct, but normally people, I mean, a wallet normally stakes to I mean, at least each of the standard wallets like Eternal and also Nami, Yoroi, Lace, I suppose. I mean, they always, when you set up a new wallet, they generate a stake key for you. And then if you want to stake ADA at the stake pool, that stake key is used. So normally a stake key is a good like identifier for a person. And so as long as you keep or track their stake keys, you in principle, I mean, you can use the stake key as an ID for the user and keep track which stake key made a contribution. Of course, you could also use an address or something else, but most people
so
use stake keys. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, just to clarify, so you're saying this part, the tracking part, doesn't necessarily need to be on-chain. It's an off-chain kind of, it's logic that is off-chain, where I keep tracking of I scan the blockchain, or at least get the common stake key, right?
I mean, what I mean is there are like I mean, it should be on the blockchain, but there are like different ways. I mean, what that means. So, I mean, it can be implicitly or explicitly. I mean, for example, if you just have an address, even if it's like a pub key address, I mean, anything on the blockchain. I mean, the most primitive thing was, I mean, you just share your wallet address. I mean, if you now did this project, then in principle, you could just create a wallet and with an address, and then people just send money to that wallet. I mean, without any smart contract. I mean, then it would already be on the blockchain in the sense that, I mean, everybody can open an Explorer and look at that address and see who sent money to that address. So in that sense, like implicitly, the information who sent how much would already be on the blockchain in a sense. Of course, you can also, I mean it in a more explicit way, where it's like a specific like datum, for example, of some UTXO with a map from stake key to amount or stake key to percentage. I mean, then it would be more explicitly available on the blockchain. What I'm saying is that, I mean, it's already on the blockchain. As long as it involves the blockchain, that people can already in principle check just using a blockchain explorer how much. So it really depends how explicit you need it to be. The principle, because it would anyway be on the blockchain. It's just what I'm trying to make. So I mean, if you could just set up a wallet principle and ask people to send funds there. Of course, they can't force you to give it back. But I mean, with this, because of this trading bot, they have to trust the trading bot anyway. In principle, you could already use that and then just basically in Explorer, or I mean, you would of course write some tooling, off-chain tooling, that would just monitor this address, and each time somebody sends money there, you would just basically log that, and that would also be on the blockchain in the sense that everybody, I mean, it's transparent. Everybody could check that with a blockchain explorer. Of course, it might be not in a convenient format. That's why I would say, I mean, if you want it more explicit, then one would need to think about that, how you could like explicitly have a datum, for example, on the blockchain that keeps track of these statistics. Does that make sense?
If you send it to a wallet, a regular wallet, there's no way for you to cash back like on chain.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, you said earlier, I mean, in principle, I mean, just like very like low tech solution would be, I mean, if you want to do that, I mean, you could send it, I mean, share your wallet address, people send you money, and then once a week or so, you send the money that people send to a bot. The bot does, or you give the bot your private key, basically the key to the wallet. The bot trades with that, and then you basically, I mean, you know who sent you what, when, so you know the percentages, and then you could just tell the bot to, I mean, you write the script and the bot then just distributes the gains to people. I mean, that would work, right? And it is in a sense transparent because, I mean, people could verify on the blockchain who sent how much and so on.
So what yes, that will work. But I'm trying to make it as, yeah, but like the thing is, because you have to trust the trading bot, you're kind of centralizing in trust and responsibility in some way.
Yes.
But I'm thinking that maybe if you create UTXOs with your key hash in the datum in the funding smart contract, you have a bunch of those.
Yes. Yes.
Then in the funding smart contract, you make sure that you can either cash the money back if you are the person with that key hash, or you create a UTXO at some other contract that is, it's called his trading history contract, where you put all the UTXO you consume, like the total amount of the UTXOs you consume, the percentages. It's like explicitly said. That's in, you can find that out off chain, but maybe you can put it like explicitly there.
Yes.
And you can use a third party bots, so they can just like any other bot can do it. You can do it yourself, or other parties can like compete against you maybe. Or maybe use different strategies, like more aggressive or less aggressive. But at least up until that previous point, up until it reaches the bot, you have this history of transactions, and then when the bot wants to put the money back into the funding smart contract, consumes the previous UTXO that contains the history of the percentages, and either removes that from the story, or just, for example, creates another one with a list of transactions, all the trades that the bot did to go from A to B, for example. Which that could be also made on chain actually. So maybe just the first part.
Right. I mean that, if I understand you correctly, so people could just send to some address, I mean, in parallel, but then there is something like a batcher on some DEX is used that would basically collect those
Trading bot
contributions.
itself. The trading
Well, the
bot.
trading bot itself, but he can only, if he does that, if he consumes the UTXO, he has to make an entry somewhere to log that fact, right?
Exactly.
That he, right. And
That way on chain, there's already the percentages set on chain.
yes,
And
right.
yes, and you have some sort of place to go look at to see where the money, like which trading bot has which money, for example.
Right. I think I understand. I wished I could like draw pictures.
Yeah.
I haven't tried my, I don't know, does the whiteboard functionality work on this thing? I've never tried that.
Right. Yeah.
Can you stop the screen sharing for a
Sure.
second?
Okay. There you
Thank
go.
you.
Stop it.
Yeah, I see. Thanks. I've never tried the whiteboard. Ugh. It seems. I think I created the one that is shared, so whatever. Can people see this now?
Yes,
Yes.
actually,
Yes, we actually we can.
Okay, cool. Right. So I think the idea is, how does it work? Pen. Okay, let's see. So you have one UTXO basically that's like the statistics. So in the beginning there, the datum would just be an empty map. Okay, and then let's say it's irritating. Just see with the handwriting.
You can use texting, I think, Lars. Maybe
Yeah,
instead.
right.
Yeah.
It's better. So I create a UTXO whatever 100 ADA, and I can create another one if I'm. Why does this not work? Hang on. And another one, say Bertino, 150 ADA, and let's say Carina, whatever, 300 ADA. So that's our contributions. And now there's some bot. And if I understand Robertino correctly, we could now, the bot wants to use some money. So we could, for example, pick some of the UTXOs, for example, these two. So we would create a transaction where these are input, these two, but also this one.
No,
And
that's
then
in my idea is that that's an output.
but I thought it updates.
No, because like if you have to update it, then you cannot parallelize anymore. You create one per trading, and when the bot ends after the trading, you delete it. You like consume that.
Okay.
But maybe
Right. I thought because the bot, sorry, I thought the contention problem is not so bad because the bot can consume many UTXOs and just in one transaction, basically.
Right. If you have multiple bots, you may have some contention.
Right. Okay, fine. Then let's not do it like this.
Or maybe maybe you can update one. I mean, each bot can update his own. That's it. There's no more contention.
Right. Okay, so let's first, for simplicity, then just think there's one bot. So
Okay.
then this would be the inputs, and then one output would be this updated thing.
Yeah.
So now it would say in the datum, what would it say last? Ugh.
It can either say the actual values or these percentages. Either way is
Yeah.
fine.
So it would say last 200, Robertino 150, for example. And then it would also have an output just with the money, right? And
Yeah.
so that would just be the bot with whatever 350. What 350? And then, so basically the bot would consume some of the contributions and update the statistics. And now the bot could, I mean, there could be a different transaction where, I mean, just to demonstrate this, different transaction that takes, for example, this input and that input and this one. And again would have two outputs. And would update this map here. So now it's last 300, Robertino 150, Carina 300. So it would update the statistics and would have, I mean, this money that it now collected, that's 400, right? Yeah, 400. Right, like this. So each time the bot needs money, it would pick from these contributions, and it could keep track of how much it took from everyone. And then
just a
would
question, Lars.
Yes.
I think the screen is, you're not able to see the lower part of the
Oh,
You can
of the
move
example.
around. You can move the canvas around.
oh, you can scroll. I can scroll. Can others also scroll?
And
Yes.
if you click on the
Yep.
wheel, you can like take it and drag it.
Can you see?
I can see everything.
Yes, me too.
Anderson, can you use like your mouse or just to scroll?
Okay, I think I can zoom out.
I think you can also zoom in and out. Yes.
Yes, okay. I can see, if I zoom in and zoom out, we can be able to see.
Okay.
So in your interpretation, Lars, you have this ever growing history, right? Never
Yes.
finishes, right?
Somehow this is weird. Now this didn't move with. Okay, fine. Yeah, I mean that's one interpretation. And then of course the bot. I mean the bot now has like 350 ADA to play with and 400, so it could do some trades, which would, I mean, they are of course also on the blockchain, but they are like difficult to draw. But then at some point, the bot would have like a win, and then it could create a transaction. I mean, so here trading happens, and so let's say the bot makes some whatever trading. And now and let's say the bot just makes one transaction, one complicated transaction where it trades on some DEX, whatever. And then there could be a transaction. So the bot now would take his money that he collected and it would interact with some DEX. So there's like different inputs here. I mean, from a DEX, whatever, would match some orders using the money. And I mean, there can happen more stuff. So this is more like, it doesn't necessarily just have to be one transaction that the bot does. I mean, you can do maybe many transactions. I mean, that's also up to debate, of course. I mean, he could, for example, use this money to place an order on the DEX and then later collect it again. But anyway, at some point it would then be ready to pay out wins. So it would take, let's say it makes, I don't know, 100 ADA. Can I do this now? So it's 600, 750. Okay, let's say the bot makes 75 ADA win. Then it could, yeah, what doesn't matter. Yeah, let's say to keep it simple. So it's three, no, okay, no, it's fine. It's 1, 2, 2, right? So let's say the bot makes 500 ADA win. Then it could pay, so it would update this thing to be empty again. So it's this empty thing again. And then it would pay out to the three of us. Okay. So let's see. So I would get my, so let's say 500, it made 500, right? And the contributions were in 2 to 1 to 2. So if it makes 500, then 200. So I would get 500. Sorry. And Robertino would get irritating. Robertino would get his originally 150 plus 100. Robertino. And Karina, same as me, would get the 300 plus 200. Karina. Something like that, right?
And yes, but on top of that, I mean, yes, all that should be inside the funding contract again.
Yeah. I mean, actually, there are two different contracts. I mean, no, yeah, there are two contracts here. I mean, the ones where we pay in would also be a smart contract, I suppose. That makes sure that you can only consume this if you also update this correctly, right?
Yes, I'm naming the log contract.
The tracking contract.
Okay.
So there would be two different. I mean, this is a funding one, and then we have this one here. That, I mean, that's maybe a different one.
If you zoom out, I like try to gather
Also,
contract.
oh yeah, yes. Perfect. Yes, thank you. Exactly. So in this idea, there would be two contracts, the funding contract and this log contract. And the funding contract would make sure the bot can take money out, but only if you update this specific UTXO. And this one would, I mean, that would have an NFT in it to keep track of this specific UTXO, right? That would be this NFT.
And you can enforce that the values are the correct ones as well. So
yes, so you could enforce that each time the bot consumes one of these funding contract UTXOs, I mean, in a transaction like that. So if they get consumed, the smart contract could check that this log UTXO would be updated correctly, so that if you consume, I mean, each validator of the funding contract would make sure I can only be consumed if the same transaction also consumes this log UTXO, and creates a continuing output at the same address of the lock contract and updates the datum accordingly by adding the amount it consumes to the datum under my name. I mean, name, of course, would be staking key. So that would be the one part. And then the other part, and of course, you probably also want something that if the bot doesn't consume it, you can get your money back. So you can always get it back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, so then the bot has it, and then the bot can, I mean, that is outside of under our control somehow, but then there would be another operation in the lock contract that you can basically remove contributions again if you pay in, and then it would make sure that you split the rewards like according to the right percentages. The only problem with that is, I mean, that would work, but only for like few people. If you have hundreds of people, I think the calculations would be too I mean, it would take too many steps. But I think one can somehow handle that. But I mean, this would be the first idea, right?
Yeah, and also if you give it enough time, eventually, I mean, you could program the off-chain code to select UTXOs with the same staking key, so then you can like reduce UTXOs. Just eventually it will become one UTXO per person.
Yes.
And maybe you can filter if there's not enough money in the UTXO, just don't take it, take one with more money, something like that. So it's worth it to take few with more money.
Yes.
And if at some point there's too many UTXO, just create a new instance of the trading bot.
Right. There are also tricks. I was at the Cardano Summit last year in Lausanne in Switzerland, and somebody told me about an interesting technique. I mean, it was completely different domain. But I mean, it was about this auction example that I sometimes did in the Plutus Pioneer program. And I mean, there was the problem that in my original example that I now didn't do in this course, there was only one UTXO that kept track of the highest bid and so on. And of course, again, if you have many participants in an auction, that would be a problem. So they had a very cool idea where basically the bids are arranged in a doubly linked list. So basically the like UTXOs that know like the next and the previous UTXO. And then if somebody did another bid, he had to somehow link himself into that list. So he only had to like pick an arbitrary position in the list. So the longer the list gets, the less contention there is. So somebody who wants to do a new bid picks an arbitrary point in the list and then only has to modify like two of the existing UTXOs, the left and the right one, and move the pointers accordingly. Or something like that. I mean, that was the general idea. And then the cool idea was in the end, if you want to figure out who won the auction, you basically incentivize people to collapse this list. So somebody takes two adjacent nodes in the list and checks which one is the higher number bid, and then basically collapses them to one node that only keeps the highest one and pays back the lower one and so on. And for doing that, you get a certain like 1 ADA or so reward to incentivize people to actually do this. And then in the end, basically, it collapses, the whole list collapses to the highest bid. I mean, that was the idea, to do something like that. So basically have statistics distributed and then somehow use like small incentive for people to aggregate those statistics. So one could have like several of these lock contract things. And then there could be an operation that somebody takes two of these lock UTXOs and combines them into one, gets a bit of reward for doing that, and the contract would check that the sums add up. I mean, sometimes things like that you can do as well to make it scale. What I want to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And I think if the values are big enough,
Right.
Yes, that will make sense. I mean, not
So-
if you're betting like 5 ADA, because then there's nothing to pay. The
Yeah,
collapse.
Yes.
yeah, maybe you can check before make that to
Yes.
don't do
10,000
that. Yeah,
ADA.
it's not necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, just by paying 10 ADA maybe, or yeah, that's enough to pay for
Yeah.
the
The minimum amount only. Yeah.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is, I mean, I think there are ways to make something like this scale to more participants. So yeah, that would be one way. I mean, but yeah, of course you can't have more than, I don't know, 100 people in this log contract. Otherwise it gets too. I mean, another idea would be to not have this log contract, but instead do something. I mean, Uniswap on Ethereum, they have these liquidity pools, right? Where there are 2 tokens in, and then, I mean, those are used to make the swaps. And I mean, on Ethereum, they don't have UTXOs, of course. So basically, if you have 1 token pair, whatever, ADA World Mobile, it's just one Ethereum contract, and different people can add liquidity to the same contract. And they, of course, also have the problem they need to keep track of, I mean, of the percentage. And they do that by minting new tokens, so-called liquidity tokens. So so if you add liquidity to a pool, you get, in return, you get a liquidity token or some liquidity tokens. And then the amount and the contract keeps track of the total amount of liquidity tokens. And so that would also actually be, so instead of having this, this is maybe we should, is there a way to, can I just,
copy and
so
paste it, or
yeah, so the idea would be, instead of having this, I mean, this entry of the names and numbers here in this log contract, you basically only keep track of how much ADA, for example, in total you collected. So here you would have 0, here you would have 350, and then here, it's not too small for me, just a second. So that would be an alternative to that, you don't have so much data. So you would keep track. I mean, here it would be, and instead of this empty list, you just have 0. Then here, instead of these 2 names, sorry, 200 and 150, you would just remember that now you have 350. And which you don't even have to remember, because it's just the money in there. So that's probably bullshit. You don't even need this. Sorry. You don't have to do any, I mean, basically you don't have to do anything. The only thing is, what you do is, no, sorry, because the money is not in here. So you do have to do that. Sorry, I was confused. The log contract doesn't have the money. So the log contract keeps track of how much money the bot collected. So it would keep 0 here and 350 here and 600 here. So it would just remember the sum, not who owns this. And here 0 again. And then in return, so instead of keeping track of who owns that, you would create new outputs. So here you would have 2 more outputs to this contract, one for to this transaction.
or
Yeah, one for me, one for Robertino in this case, and then get some, I mean, Lars 200, but now not ADA, but some new freshly minted token, some whatever.
can you look at below? Can you zoom
Sorry.
out?
Yes, sorry, just a second.
I'm trying
Yes,
you so what you need.
yes,
But
whatever we call it. Let's just give it a name, this token. For example, JSON token. And same here. So Robertino would get 50 JSON tokens. And same, where was the other one? Here. So there we would also have whiteboard. So we would have output there. Still trying to get. What was that? That was Lars 220 and Karina 300 LT. Okay, and then at this step, when the bot wants to cash in, he wouldn't he wouldn't pay it directly to the people, but in another smart contract, either in this lock contract or in a third contract, like payout contract. And then I don't know how to draw this now, but and then basically people can exchange their JT tokens for ADA again, but percentual percentage. So I mean, the bot would now pay in more, right? It was the original 600 plus 500, so 1100 would be in there now. And somehow that now one must keep track of, I mean, of this factor, of the gain factor, basically. Does it, I mean, do you understand, Robertine, what I mean? I'm not really sure how to draw this now. I mean,
Yeah,
the idea is, yeah.
I understand, but maybe, I mean, the minting policy has to be able to burn. You have to provide not only the JSON tokens, but also the link. Yeah, we need, because like when the bot finishes trading, if we put it in the same contract, it will be maybe too much for a single contract. We need another one.
Right. But and maybe it would also not be good if the bot puts all in one UTXO, because then you again have the problem that if many people want to cash out, there's contention for this one UTXO.
Yeah.
But basically what you have to do, I mean, in this example, so 600 were paid in, and now the bot made 500 gain. So it's now 1100. So somewhere this factor that, I mean, 11/6, that must be tracked somewhere, because that means, I mean, originally I mean, these 200 JSON tokens were worth 200 ADA, but now the bot has turned the 600 ADA it had here into 1100 ADA. So now my tokens are worth more than, I mean, originally one JSON token was 1 ADA, but now the bot has made a profit. So now a JSON token is worth 11 divided by 6 ADA. So probably this lock contract has to, right, that's how it could work. So yeah, I'm too lazy to draw this, but basically the lock contract must keep track of two things: how much ADA basically, or maybe not even of that. It basically just has to keep track of how much one JSON token is worth. So in the beginning, that's 1. So each time you pay in, you get 1 JSON token. But now, after the bot has made a profit, JSON tokens are suddenly worth more. They are now worth 11/6 ADA. So this lock contract, I think, just needs to track that number. Now it's 11/6. So that means that now I can, and then the bot pays to this payout contract, and now I can exchange. I mean, if I burn JSON tokens, I can get out. I mean, for each JSON token I burn, I can basically take out 11 divided by 6 ADA. And now, of course, people could make new contributions, but now they would receive, I mean, they must not receive one JSON token, but like a different amount. And somehow one always has to keep track of that. Or I mean, how that I think it's possible. Just, you know what I mean? Because I mean, people are permanently contributing, and
Yeah,
right. I think one must keep track of how many JSON tokens are out there at the moment, and how much ADA are currently at play. So you basically at every point can calculate the percentage that a new contribution brings, and then pay out JSON tokens accordingly. I mean, that's how Uniswap does it basically.
yeah, the thing is, it's really hard to. I mean, if you want two trading bots, what do you, if you want to use two trading bots, you update a single log contract with both amounts at the same time to add them up, for example?
You could do that, or each trading bot could have its own log contract.
In that case, I mean, how do you have to take that into account when burning the tokens? Because it depends. I mean, the JSON tokens now is JSON token 1, JSON token 2. Because
I think you can always use the same JSON token. You just have to give like different percentages. I mean, so you don't always get one JSON token per ADA. That changes all the time, depending on how much ADA are already in there and how much.
Right, but I mean, if there's two trading bots and I got my JSON token from one that made profit, but then when I want to like burn them, if they are the same that the other one that, for example, had a loss.
Oh no, I think each bot should have its own token.
Right, then you have like multiple tokens. Okay, yeah.
And
Yeah,
the tricky part is just, I mean, in our example, let's say, I mean, originally we got one JSON token per ADA we invested. I mean, at the moment, the bot takes our contributions. And now it made a profit. So now the bot has 1100 ADA. So now our JSON tokens are now worth more than one ADA. But I mean, if now somebody after this money has been made, oh no, sorry, that's stupid. So it can always work like that, I think. I mean, what if now somebody wants to make an investment? Somebody new, like Jason or Anderson, makes 500 ADA investment. Does he also get 500 JSON token, or will he get?
he should get like, I don't know, like 480, something like that. Like the relative.
I think he must get less, because otherwise he could. I mean, we said a JSON token is now worth 1 point. I mean, the ones we received is now worth 11/6, right? Whatever that is. It's 1.16 ADA. I know that. No, sorry, no. It's 8.87, 1.87 ADA. After the bot made a profit. So now, if now Anderson makes an investment of 500, he wouldn't get 500 JSON tokens. He would only get 500 divided by 1.87 JSON tokens, because the JSON token is now worth more.
Yeah. So like,
right,
to add in this, the liquidity token dynamic makes it so you can, the bot can increase or decrease the amount of trading money available, basically. So that will be the advantage we have over the previous one.
Yeah, and I mean, one advantage is that you have less data. So here it was, I mean, the more contributors you have, the bigger this datum gets, because you have this dictionary of staking keys to amounts. That's the main advantage, I think, because now it's just one number. It just has to keep track basically of the exchange rate, JSON token to ADA.
Yeah.
And you must just somehow do that right. Yeah. So I think now, yeah. So each time I mean, here I said I mean, the bot takes 200 ADA from me and gives me 200 JSON tokens. But this will not always be one-to-one. So that will depend on the current exchange rate. So in the beginning, the exchange rate is 1. So I get for my 200 ADA, when the bot takes them, I get 200 JSON tokens. But if at this point Anderson now invests 500 ADA, he wouldn't receive 500 JSON token. He would only receive, I don't know, 270 or something. Because at this point, the exchange rate is 1.87 ADA per JSON tokens. And I think, I mean, the main advantage is these lock contracts only have to keep track now of the exchange rate. So it's just one number. So the datum of the lock contract doesn't grow in size. And you don't need this complicated list. So you just have these JSON tokens that people have. So that's actually quite cool, I think. I think that idea would work. So I mean, the idea is basically you have 3 smart contracts. Let me just. Okay, so we have 3 smart contracts, let's say. One is where you pay in. Maybe we can I?
Yeah, I'm annotating a couple of stuff here, but maybe.
Yeah.
Below. Okay.
I don't know. Payment contract. People place ADA to invest there. The bot can take them, consume those in exchange for JSON tokens to the contributor. The amount of JSON tokens depends on the current exchange rate, which is tracked by the lock contract. Okay, that's the one. Then we have the lock contract. Keeps track of the current exchange rate. And I think it also needs to keep track of and not sure what else. And then we would have this payout contract. The bot places winnings there and people can burn JSON tokens in order to take ADA out. Something like that. And all that's.
Sorry, the JSON token depends on the bot. It's like bot proprietary JSON token. Yeah.
Yes, so each bot, this is for one bot. So I mean, you could do the same for other bots. I mean, there could be several bots. So this is just one bot at the moment. And I'm just trying to figure out what. I think it's not enough to keep. You don't just need the exchange rate, probably you also need like the total sum of ADA that.
I mean, we needed to update. We need the total amount of ADA to update the exchange rate either way. So maybe.
Yes, the total amount of ADA, but that. Yeah, somehow you have to keep track of the ADA that the bot took or has at the moment.
Yes, it even brings the possibility of an investor trading in his liquidity tokens.
Yes, that's a nice thing. If you use tokens, that's always a plus. If you use tokens for anything, then people I mean, right now, I mean, I invested these 200 ADA, I get the 200 JSON tokens, but now the bot has to trade. So maybe I don't want to, I need money now. I can't wait until the bot makes a profit. So then I could sell my JSON tokens to whoever. I mean, it's like a secondary market on. So that would be a nice, I could sell my 200 JSON tokens to you, Robertino, for whatever, for 190 ADA.
Mhm.
That's good, right? And I mean, so it's not necessarily me who has to cash in the profits. It could be anybody who has the tokens. The only tricky part is to somehow, I mean, update this exchange rate correctly. I'm sure that's possible. You must just like think about that. What data you need, because it's like an ongoing process. So the bot at any time can basically take more investment and can pay out rewards. I mean, gains, profit share, can pay out profit basically. And one just needs to keep track of what that means for the exchange rate, because you should always, yeah, I think you need to keep track of how much, yeah, you need to keep track of how much funds the bot currently has and the amount
Of JSON token.
no of ADA. Yeah, that's equivalent, I suppose.
I mean, if you just have
yeah.
the JSON tokens in the amount of ADA, that's it, because you can use it as a reference input for the minting policy, and that's it. I think you can calculate
Minted.
the rate live.
Yes. I'm not sure. Let me just say ADA in the bot's possession. I'm not sure whether one also needs to keep track of. No, I think that's basically fine. Something like this. Okay. I mean, let's say the bot at some point, whatever. I mean, there's an exchange rate and the total amount of ADA the bot has. And right. And now if somebody, I mean, as we said, so in the beginning, one JSON token is worth 1 ADA. So if I want my money back immediately, I would, for my JSON token, I would get an ADA back. But now if the bot makes profit, so he has, then the exchange rate would update accordingly. Because now all the owners are entitled to more.
Right, but at that point, I mean, the owners don't have access to their money until the trading bot finishes. So in
Yes.
that same step, you update the.
Yes, you would update the ADA amount and the exchange rate.
The ADA amount and the exchange rates if you want to just do it once instead of every person that wants to change the JSON tokens calculating the same rate again. So maybe you can do it once with the trading bot can do it once, that's it. So the minting policy can just read the exchange rates and release. I think that's it, right? I mean, it's
yes. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I mean, one has to think about this part, but I mean, I know that's possible. I mean, if you have sufficient data, you will have to keep track of a couple of numbers, and then you can always at any point determine how much. I mean, you just have to determine how much people are entitled to get, and how much. I mean, for a JSON token, how much JSON tokens they get when they invest you. And I mean, that should be, yeah, someone can do that. Yeah, one has to sit down and think about that for an hour or so. But I mean, that's the general idea, I think. I mean, the point is, I mean, you can't update the percentage. I mean, because if you do it with tokens, I mean, ideally you would have like shares, right? I mean, but it's the same. The problem is, if we forget about blockchain, if I just have shares in a company, let's say at the beginning, Robertino, Karina, and I, we found a company, so we have each a third, like 33.3%. So the question, of course, and that's easy, as long as it's only the three of us. I mean, we are just entitled to a third of everything. But now Anderson wants to buy in, basically. He also wants to invest. That obviously means that our percentages go down, and he also gets a certain amount. And I mean, that's difficult to do if our shares are represented by just a token, because I mean, you can't change. I mean, you can't reach into people's wallet. I mean, on Ethereum, you could actually reach into people's wallets and change the amount. So you could always keep it at the percentage. But you can't do that on Cardano, so therefore you need this exchange rate. So you must adjust that somehow accordingly to what people invest. But I think that's doable. And I think this is actually then quite nice. I mean, the general concept.
One thing that maybe we need a boolean of some sort to indicate at the log contract to indicate if people can or cannot redeem, because maybe the trading bot is mid trading and is losing like badly, and before it updates, people start like burning their own JSON tokens. So there's no enough money to pay them all. So in that case, maybe like to have
I think my idea was that the bot, whenever there's profit to share, it pays it in this third one, in this payout contract. So basically at any given point, the bot has some money at its own control. And then when it feels there's profit to share, it places this in this payout contract. And then people can grab it if they want.
So what if I want out completely?
Then you can't. Yeah, good point. Yeah, sure. But I mean, so there should be like whatever. I mean, maybe the bot also has access to this. I mean, it's like the bot's wallet basically. So at any given point, it's money that the bot can use to trade, but people can also cash out from there. But I mean, if there's nothing, then there's nothing. I mean, if it
after
yeah.
every trade, so after every trade, the UTXOs get back into the payment contract or the payout contract.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so
right.
that will solve the problem, because yes, I mean, you can take your money at any point in time, and you don't have to wait for this, I don't know, a series of transactions up until the bot is happy with the final results to release your money. You can just take it at any point in time.
Right. Exactly. So the bot, basically, this payout contract is the one that the bot uses for trading. So that's like the bot's wallet. So there can be lots of UTXOs, and the bot must just in the lock contract keeps track of the total amount basically in there and of this exchange rate. And then people can cash out. So the bot can use it to trade, and people can also use it to burn JSON tokens and get money out.
I think maybe we could use the same contract for payment and payout.
Yes. But the only problem there is that then you have this contention, because I mean, my idea was that if you use a different for payment, then the bot can grab several of them at once, because you always have to update the lock contract each time.
But the lock contract is only can only be accessed by the bot, so there's no contention there. And the payment and pay, like for example, if we have just the payment contract, we need to keep track of who's the owner and what's the bot that is doing trading with that money. Or not even that, because like after every trade, you can just go back to the starting point, and maybe like the second trade can be done by a different bot. No, because you have your native tokens in your wallet. Yeah, so there you have to mark somehow that money.
Yeah, so I think you do need, like, I mean, either a different contract or like different redeemers and so on. But I actually really think, I mean, if people want to make an investment, you need this payment contract. I mean, then it's not in the system yet. So it's basically an offer to the bot. And as soon as the bot decides to use that money, that investment, I mean, then it's under his control, but then it has to be locked in this lock contract. So it has to be tracked in the lock contract. And also if people cash out, it has to be locked in the lock contract.
But then no, okay. Yes, a single UTXO with a bunch of with everything together in a single value, for example, if it's to say that.
Yeah, that's I mean, one could combine the lock contract and this payout contract in principle. No, but I mean, then it's more difficult. Yeah, yeah, in principle, probably. I mean, one could just use. I think, I mean, these two you could combine. So the idea would be people pay in here, and it's just sitting there, nothing happens, and they can get it back if they want. But the bot can grab it, and the bot grabs it in exchange for JT tokens and puts it into his lock contract. I mean, he has the money in there, all the money he has in one UTXO, and he keeps track of this exchange rate and not sure what else he needs to keep track of. So he has the money, and then he can make a trade. So a trade is always a transaction. I mean, something on the blockchain, he does whatever, and all the money he gets back, he puts into the same contract. So he updates, and then he must update like each time he does that, he must update the exchange rate accordingly. I mean, if he makes money, the exchange rate goes up. And if he loses money, the exchange rate goes down. And then people can cash out of this if they burn JSON tokens accordingly. And maybe the exchange rate then also has to, but I think not. So yeah, I think that's basically it conceptually. So maybe we can.
Yeah.
So I think.
Yeah. So
Actually,
yes.
sorry.
Sorry.
Is let me just. Can I just share my screen? Sorry.
Yeah.
Because
there was one comment. It says, like, the comment says, my idea was that there is a lock-in to invest to an investing period, and you could potentially do that. You could have like a lock-in period if you have two different contracts here.
yes, you could.
So
But
that's a problem, I'm guessing. But
yes, I mean, these things one always has to think about that.
I think it should. If I will find elegant the idea to have the lock contracts, but merging the payout contract and the payment contract by just modifying. If you I mean, when a user creates the UTXO, it just puts the key hash at the datum. But then when the bot makes a trade and returns after the trade the money, it has a new field in the datum saying JSON token 1, something like that. Or the yeah, I think that will be it, because then you have JSON token. when you want to cash out, the minting policy reads the exchange, and you give. Yeah, no, but in that case, you have to return enough. You have to create UTXOs with the enough amount in case the user wants to cash out everything at the same time. So you might not have enough value. You have to like create a bunch of UTXOs, and then you have to reconsume them and then run the validator for everyone. I mean, you can do the withdrawal thing. Let me think. Yeah, no, I
And
think it's fine. Yeah, I think it's fine like this.
can I try a different way to can I share my screen? What happens with this whiteboard? Is that gone if we close it?
I think if at least one person is logged in, it will still. So if someone wants to keep this, you have to log in into Zoom. Do you have, Lars, on top of your screen some
Yes, sign in. I just don't know what do I even have a Zoom?
I don't think so. I have. Maybe I do. But if someone has it,
Karina should have. We paid like $5,000 for her account.
are you logged in, Karina?
Yeah.
Okay, so then if she shares this, I think if she shares it, you should still have it. Jason is asked, can the bot mint the tokens as well? I think he doesn't need to. No, wait. I mean, just the minting policy can mint, but when the bot consumes the payment contracts UTXO, it has to mint the liquidity tokens to each wallet that provided that ADA. So yeah, the bot is the one performing the off-chain action of running that contract. Yeah.
Can we close this here now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Already did.
Yeah.
I just wanted to I can think. Sorry. I just wanted to try a different way of let's say 3 people payment. 3 people bot. I think. No. Sorry. Is there a way to quickly? No. Hang on. Sorry. I'm not good with these things.
Control C.
Yeah, I can just. Yeah, I wanted a bigger one. I'm not sure how much I need, but so something like this. Okay, so let's say Lars, Robertino, Karina, payment, or payment. Log or bot. Let's call it bot. So let's say in the beginning I have whatever 500 ADA in my wallet and I'm sure I can. Sorry, yeah, this is what I want. Okay, this I actually. Sorry, people. Let's say we start with whatever. So that's in our wallets. And the bot has like exchange rate exchange rate, or yeah, exchange rate is 1 JSON token, 1 ADA, and it doesn't have any money. Okay, fine. So now I want to invest. Let's say Lars invests. So let's say I invest 300. So I have 200 ADA left. I do get for my invest. No, first Lars invest. So I have I paid 300 ADA into this payment contract. Nothing else happens. So now the bot accepts in my investment. Bot accepts investment. So now I get, so now I have 200 ADA and I get 300 JSON tokens. And those are now here in the bot. So the exchange rate is still 1 JSON token, 1 ADA, but the bot now has my 300 ADA. So now Robertino invests, let's say 200 ADA, puts it in the payment contract. Of course, the payment contract, so the datum here would be Lars, and here it would say Robertino. Oh, it doesn't even have to. Yeah, it does have to because I'm able to cancel. I mean, we can demonstrate that as well. So before the bot access, so Robertino gets scared. So you just get your money back. I mean, that should be possible. So now Karina invests.
And you have to update in the same line the bots.
That's no, because
Bot will grab it. Oh yeah, sorry. And
no, it's
maybe
fine.
what if the bot makes some profit before Karina invests? Or
Because we are now right in the beginning at the, yeah, I mean, I come to that now. Yeah, okay, fine. We can do that now. So now the bot invests, the bot trades. And let's say the bot now makes, let's keep it simple. So he now has 450 ADA. So now my JSON token should be worth, so now the exchange rate changes because I mean, if I cash in, because at the moment, I'm the only one that has money in the bot, so I should get everything, right? But I have 300 JSON tokens, so the 300 JSON tokens should, at this point, entitle me to all the money. So that means the exchange rate is now, 1 JSON token is 1.5 ADA. Because if I use all my JSON tokens, I should be able to, so I can cash out, let's say Lars cashes out, but let's say only, so I use 100 of my JSON tokens. So that's a third. So I get 150 ADA out. So I have 350 ADA and 200 JSON tokens. And the exchange rate stays the same. But now there are 300 ADA in there. So now Karina invests, I don't know, what do I know? Everything. So now Karina, 600 ADA. So now we need mental acrobatics. So the bot accepts investment. So this goes away. He has now 900, and now we must, I mean, this is now the tricky part. What's the exchange rate now? So at this point, 1 JSON token was worth, I mean, 150. So she invests 600, so that she should receive 400. So I think the exchange rate stays the same again.
yes, 400 JSON tokens.
Yes, but she gets 400, not 600, because it's worth more now. So she has now, sorry, here. So she now has 400 JSON tokens. And I think this is it, right? I mean, now basically we have all cases already.
Yep.
So each time the bot trades, the exchange rates gets updated. And that's basically it. So that's would be the idea. And these payment, I mean, there are different UTXOs. So every investment can be in its own UTXO. So investments can happen in parallel. But now, I mean, in this example, the bot would only have, there's only one UTXO. So it would be identified by an NFT or something. And then, of course, the various smart contracts must make sure that this is all done correctly. So each time the bot takes money, I mean, updates the money, takes money out, or puts money in, I mean, updates this. So if the amount changes, the ADA amount changes in here, because the bot does a trade, the exchange rate has to be updated accordingly. And of course, each time the bot can accept a payment, but then the contract must make sure that the owner of the investment gets the correct amount of JSON tokens. And finally, if somebody cashes out, so either the bot can use the money in this contract here, and then has to update the exchange rate, or one of the investors can, or anybody can burn JSON tokens in exchange for the corresponding amount of ADA. I think that, I mean, that would be basically the idea. And of course, you can get more fancy and put some sort of deadlines on the, I suppose. And that makes it more complicated, of course. I mean, if you don't allow people to, I mean, for example, you maybe could track that in this payment contract, so that you don't remove this after the bot cashes in, but you somehow log in the datum when that happened, and then you are only allowed to, I don't know. I mean, that makes it more complicated if you want to log money for a certain period of time. I mean, this would have the advantage that it's like fluid. At any given time, people can add money, I mean, invest more or cash out. So it's like very flexible in that regard.
Yeah, I actually would prefer if I don't have that restriction, but yeah, sometimes strategies take time. So in that case, yeah, tracking time is a bit of a hassle.
Yeah, so I think I actually like that. That's quite cool. Would be a fun project to actually implement that. And it's not too complicated, I think.
No, and actually you make the function you need. You list in the first column.
Right. So yeah, and of course what we said, I mean, you still have to trust the bot. I mean, the bot could just take the money and run. But apart from that, I think it's quite elegant. And there's this additional advantage that you mentioned, but that people can trade these JSON tokens. So that's like a secondary market for those. Because it's not anybody who has them can burn them in exchange for cashing out. And of course you can have, I mean, obviously you would want some profit from this. So you could also always like keep a certain percentage when people cash out, like keep 10% or 1% and send it to your own wallet, and also encode that in the smart contract.
Jason have a question. Say, can the bot mint tokens as well?
Yeah,
Well, the bot has to yeah, I think Robertino already said that. So each time the bot accepts an investment, he must mint tokens. So that's basically
he's
the
actually
moment
the only entity allowed to mint.
right. So the minting policy of the token would ensure that it only mints in this situation. So a payment has to be consumed. So the input I mean, this accept here would have as input the payment UTXO and the bot UTXO. And then the minting policy would ensure that the correct amount is minted. So basically the ADA in the payment multiplied by the exchange rate in the bot would, and that has to, then minting has to happen and go to the person making the investment. And that would be in the minting policy, probably in the minting policy of this JSON token that would be encoded.
Okay, so I think, oh, we have another question. Oh yeah, Kelly had an emergency, has to leave class, but there's still
Oh, okay.
the recording and more participants, so yeah, no problem. We can keep going and work on different stuff.
Are we done with this, or are there more questions to this idea? I really like that now. I mean, if I had time now, or next time I have some spare time, I would actually like to implement that. I think it's quite cool. It's a very nice example. We could also use that for the Pioneer program or something. I think it's really cool. It's a good example for also for minting strategies and so on, minting policies.
Yep.
And of course, yeah, I mean, wouldn't need to be a trading bot. It could be anything, right? Any DAO or whatever, anything that can make profit on the blockchain. I mean, that doesn't need to be a bot. It could also be like a whatever, a hedge fund or anything. Basically, a way to make, like, allow people to invest in something and participate in the profit. So it's like it's almost like a DAO, or the beginning of a DAO. I mean, without voting, but as far as the shares are concerned.
Should we take a break?
Yes, I mean, if we are done with this topic, then maybe now is a good time for a break. Oh, I didn't realize that we used so much time already. But yeah, it was a very good.
Yes, when you have fun.
When you have fun. Okay,
The
let's.
time go quick. Yeah.
Should we take a break until, I mean, until the hour?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's do that.
Our idea that wants to share. Now's the time.
Oh, hello.
Hey.
Hello. Okay, so you can hear me, all right?
Hi.
So my question was about datums and what
No.
you can. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I had audio problems. Didn't get that. Was there a question?
It was built into it. Yes.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Okay. So what can you, like, what are the limitations of datums? Like, I was wondering, can you put like a computation? Okay, not a computation, something that you can parse into like a computation. Like, can you implement a parser inside the smart contract whereby given a redeemer or a datum, it quote unquote parses it, and then given the result of the parsing, it does a transaction, like let's say to unlock some resource or something. Like, is that possible?
I mean, in principle, of course, I'm not completely sure I understand, but I mean, you can.
I
I
mean,
mean, in principle, of course, you can serialize computations. I mean, like a Haskell program is just, I mean, it's text. So, I mean, like theoretically, of course, you can put some, could define a simple programming language and encode that as datum. But yeah, Robertino, you wanted to say something?
yeah, that I think Marlowe would be a
Yes.
one of that, because like there's an instruction. I just share a link in the chat. Maybe if you want to open it, Lars, so everybody can see it.
Yes, sure. Hang on.
What the actual Marlowe contract is
Sorry, I share again.
is in the datum. So if it's more complex, there's marketization, but if it's simple enough, you could put it in just the entire contract in the datum. And then the validator parses it, and based on the structure of that contract, it makes decisions. So I think that's what you're referring, Jason.
Yeah, something like that. So like a language embedded in the data, and then based on exactly.
Yes, exactly. All right, I also want to say that as an example. Malo is like a programming language embedded in Datum. Yes. Of course, I mean, as I always said, I mean, the contract can't just do anything by itself. I mean, somebody has to trigger a transaction, of course. But then what the transaction does can depend on the datum and yes, and like Malo, like you see in the example of Malo, you can embed like programming languages or computations in the datum. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so with that,
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So with that, so the idea I wanted to implement is like a simulation for, I don't know, economic, like wanted to be able to quote unquote simulate like different economic models inside, not inside a contract, but given interactions between parties who have control to different contracts. Like the first project in the course, the peer-to-peer communication protocol, whereby peers communicated the transactions they have, the latest state of the transaction. So the idea was to build on that, but then instead of communicating transactions, they communicate different quote unquote not economic states, states of their quote unquote world, and then other people can now interact with that world, and then based on those two states, a different quote unquote world can happen. It's like cellular automata, but then on contracts. I don't know, I'm describing it correctly.
Right. Suppose you could do something like that. So what? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking that, so you want to simulate interactions in a like idealized economical world. So in that case,
yes.
what would you need to save in the datums? The state. I mean, you need each UTXO to have its own view of the world with its own parameters, or can you just have an external agent interact with these contracts? Because in that case, you don't need to save the state of the world in each datum. Or maybe you can draw it in the whiteboard.
Oh, okay. I think I can try. I'm not exactly sure what I need. That's kind of why I'm asking.
Sure. That's why we're here.
Let me try and.
I called it JSON token, but that was Kelly. I should have called it Kelly token. Sorry. Earlier. Are you drawing something?
I'm opening the board.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think it's so the boxes represent like I would say different actors like in this idealized economy. So ideally they will have different views of like the entire space. Like each agent has a local view, but then combined, they have like you can get the collective view of the entire thing. Like, so the question was, how do I represent that localized view, and how will I communicate that localized view for one agent, let's say for A, to B, and how will that communication be also available to someone like C? And also, even this is like a quote unquote economy, so that means that there are resources to be shared and resources to be exchanged, like, you know, ideally. So you'll have, let's say, you have like several resources. So a view of an economy is just basically resources that are available to one agent or all agents. Okay, not all agents, but yeah, exactly. Like, how would you make these resources available to this guy? Like, I mean, you can make a swappable contract here, but how does that also communicate the semantics of the rest of the view of the economy? I don't know, something like this. So the idea was to run the simulation in like a Haskell program, and then have the Haskell program just keep interacting with itself until, I don't know, just see what happens. So yeah, it's kind of the idea.
Right, and why do you want to do that on the blockchain? And what would the blockchain give you?
Oh, like blockchain is to keep track of. Okay, one use of the blockchain is to keep track of what assets, what money, what X people hold, and to have that be agreed upon by everyone, right? So the reason you want
Right.
to build a blockchain is to have that quote unquote true view of things, like undisputed true view of stuff.
Right. I'm just asking if it's just simulations, why would anybody dispute it?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, so this sounds, I mean, you could simulate some sort of accounting system. You could write in Haskell some simple accounting system to keep track of the resources. Smart contracts define the interaction between the entities, the allowed interaction between entities in general, but I'm not sure if you need Bluetooth itself. Maybe with just Haskell and just small accounting system, that would be enough. I mean, I'm guessing you want to run the simulations to see like what some tweaking some parameter will make, right? You don't care about transaction fees or stuff like that, I'm guessing.
Not really. Like, yeah.
I just wonder, if you want to, normally, you could just write a Haskell program that simulates stuff. Why would you want it to be like publicly on the blockchain?
One reason is like, if the simulations say something, maybe you want to test it out on, I don't know, maybe you want now, instead of A being a simulated agent, you want them to be like a real address with a real account. So it kind of works in both worlds, like in the simulated world, and see how truly it reflects like our world, right? Something like that.
Right.
I mean, but maybe it's not, if he wants to try simulating transactions in the blockchain, can do in a private testnet that is like super fast. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Like, the end goal is to gather data, or what's the end goal?
The end goal is just to, I don't know, test different economic models, see how they kind of induce different kinds of I don't know, states or just different kinds of information. Like, let's say if you encode in the datums that, let's say, everybody can access everybody else's resource, then you simulate it for, let's say, 10 time steps, then you might get something different versus if the datum encodes the computation that to interact with my resource, you need to, let's say, pay me some amount of ADA or something, or some other model, right? Like, or even a mix of both models. Like if one agent has this model and another agent has another model, then how do they collaborate or do something together, right? It's kind of, yeah, it's just curiosity, really, just to see how it's different. Yeah, like you said, how different parameters affect. Yeah.
Right, and the agents would the simulators, I mean, who controls the agents? Would it all be like the simulator, or would would the agents be real people, for example, that make transactions on the blockchain according to different rules?
Ideally, it can be both. You can, like, I wanted to start with just, like, let's say, different Haskell threads controlling different agents, and then maybe move that to now actual addresses controlling different, having now as the agents, instead of now a Haskell thread controlling an agent, you have now the agent just doing normal stuff, something like that. I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question.
Right. And your original question with the computation was you somehow want to encode the rules in the datum itself.
Yes, like how someone is allowed to interact with one agent, or yeah, something like that.
I see. Right, and these resources, I mean, they can of course just be numbers or something in the they could also be tokens, for example. That
Yeah,
exchange of resources could be like sending tokens from one agent to the other.
Yeah. But that should depend on what rules the agent has subscribed to allow exchanges between. I don't know. Yeah, something like that. There should be like a rule system between that defines that interaction between any two agents, which is encoded in the data. So yeah, okay, which I wanted. Yeah, I didn't know if could be encoded in the data, but now that I know, maybe something to try.
Right. I mean, I could imagine. I mean, you could represent. I mean, first of all, the agents themselves, I think. I mean, that's like a unique identity. An agent is like an individual, basically, that changes state. So that's as we have said like last week, and this normally you do that with an NFT. So every agent would be represented by an NFT. So whatever UTXO has that NFT currently is that agent, and if the agent changes state, then you would consume that NFT and create a new NFT. Consume that UTXO with the NFT and create a new UTXO representing the updated state of the agent. And then the resources could be tokens, native tokens, and like interactions between agents. A and B, for example, would be a transaction that consumes the two UTXOs representing the current state of agent A and B, and then like updates the state somehow and has two new outputs for the updated A and the updated B. And then you could have, I mean, depending on what type of rules you envision, I mean, as we said, you could encode that in the datum, and then some of the validator could keep track of that. I suppose, and in principle, they could all be the same smart contract. So the agent, I mean, there would be this one big smart contract, and the agents would be UTXO sitting at the address of that contract, containing different NFTs that represent the different agents. And then each transaction would consume some of the agents and recreate them. I mean, keep one output per NFT again and pass the datums of those agents to see that it conforms to the rules. I think that's doable. Yeah, so basically the contract would, I mean, independent of the datum, it would always check that there is an output to the transaction where the NFT that identifies the agent is again present. So that means that I mean there's an old version of the agent and a new version of the agent. And then basically the status changes that are allowed would be determined by the datum itself. So what, I mean, how the status can change. So yeah, I suppose you could do that with Plutus. And then of course you still need, yeah, as you say,
Oh, okay.
have the programmer so that decide, I mean, what to do now. I mean, to do something. I mean, which actions to take. So I mean, just to make it more concrete, so like the interaction between two agents would be, for example, that one agent gives some resources to another agent or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Or that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I'm trying to diagram what you're saying, Lars, to the right.
Okay.
So we have this world validator that has all the rules of the world. And this might be super big, so maybe you want to use some can you modify the I think you can. You can modify in your personal testnet the sizes of the scripts in case you run out of space. You can just make it bigger.
Oh yes.
So you have this world validator, and every time two agents interact with this is an interaction, they go back both to the same world validator, but something changed in the datums. Let's make it. This is what you meant, Lars?
Yeah, I meant that. Yeah, that exactly. I mean, they could, I think, I mean, there probably only needs to be one smart contract, and all the agents are represented by UTXO sitting at that contract's address. And each agent has its own unique NFT. And each transaction, no matter what it does, I mean, independent of the rules, would always check that. I mean, yeah, that. I mean, the validator would check that my own NFT. I mean, the validator runs, of course, for each input to a transaction. So it runs from the perspective of one of the agents. So it would always need to check that there is a continuing output to the transaction to the same address, where the NFT is present of that agent, and probably it should also somehow be only that NFT.
Because I'm thinking that if you encode the logic of each agent in the datum, maybe you want to leave the resources to the value so the datum stays the same.
Right. Yes.
But yes, makes sense.
Yes. So you would check that there's one with the same datum, an output with the same datum, that contains the NFT. And then I mean, what actually changes could be the value, right? That certain resources get swapped between agents. And the rules for that could, in principle, be encoded in the datum of the agent.
There you go.
Right. Yes, so the validator, independent of the rules, must guarantee that this picture is somehow, that for each agent input, you have an agent output with the same NFT, so that, you can't merge agents or destroy agents, let's say. And then, yeah, you could have whatever rules encoded in the datum that somehow determine how this value can change, right? What the relation is between the primed values and the original values.
Makes
But
sense.
to make, yeah,
Sorry, I was just getting feedback from Jason.
right.
Oh yeah, that's really nice actually. It's very clear now. I think, yeah, okay, just an additional question. How would an agent kind of use, let's say, other agents? It's okay. Like how is a way you can maintain information on past interactions based on like and then make those past interactions kind of this kind of complicates it a lot, but how to make those past interactions be part of their rule set, like okay, like if I've interacted with this, let's say if agent 1 has interacted with agent 2 as the diagram shows, and then you want to make another transaction, but then that transaction is only possible if from the perspective of agent 1 is only possible if it has already interacted with agent 2. But then if agent 1 hasn't interacted with agent 2, it's not possible. But then if they have interacted, it's possible. Like how would you have that dependency?
You could, of course, have a field in the datum, just a list of agents. Agent 1 has in agent 1's datum, you could have a list of agents in the datum with which it has already interacted, and then the transaction could update that. Or you could, that's one way to track it in the datum. And then another would be to also have a special token for that. You could mint an interaction token or whatever. That so if agent 1 interacts with agent 2, he would mint a new token that maybe where the token name is 2, and so and gets that token, so he can inspect this value and see whether that token is present, this interaction token. That's one other option if you don't want to, for whatever reason, track it in the datum itself.
If you want to know about not only about the existence of the interaction in the past, but also the result of it, because I'm guessing the engine needs to make future decisions based on the result of the previous transactions. Maybe you could just make a sort of complex data structure inside the state, a state field in the datum, and that's it. Like interaction 1 with this agent resulted in, like, I don't know, negative 1.5 coefficient of impact. I don't know. I'm not sure
Yes.
how complex you want to make it.
Yes, it depends a bit on what exactly you want to do, but yes, can of course keep track of things like that in the datum, for example.
Okay, so yeah, I think the original idea was just to make cellular automata, but in
I see.
Plutus, but yeah, make it have like economic semantics or sharing resources, something like that. So, yeah.
Right, you cellular automaton.
Yeah,
Sure, you could also. I mean, it's a bit difficult maybe to do that. I mean, in principle, sure, you could. I mean, if you think of like, I mean, of course, you could think of like two-dimensional game of life thing, but I mean, the easiest cellular automatons are just like one-dimensional. So then every agent basically has two neighbors, two other agents, and then you could, of course, somehow make the. I mean, sure, you could. I mean, yeah, you could. Right, you could have a validator that says, okay, I can only switch to my state from 0 to 1 if the present, I mean the other, I mean my left neighbor is 1 and my right neighbor is 0 or whatever. I mean that you could do. So yeah, you could. And then basically transactions would only be valid if they are like legal state transitions according to the rules of the cellular automaton. That you could certainly do, yes.
That would
Certainly a
actually
nice
simpler.
exercise. Sorry?
Yeah, that's way simpler than what I had in mind.
Right. The only thing I'm now thinking, I mean, normally with these cellular automatons, they all update in lockstep. So I'm not really sure you could enforce that. I just see the problem that now maybe one cell swaps, but I mean, the neighbors don't necessarily also swap at the same time. So it would be like an asynchronous cellular automaton. But that's maybe also interesting. I mean, one could have that, right? I mean, you have a bunch of agents that are somehow arranged in one-dimensional or two-dimensional. I mean, like this game of life thing, and every agent just needs to know its 8 neighbors. And then in transaction, I mean, one agent can switch to, I mean, from dead to alive if it has exactly 3 or 4 live neighbors. And then that would be a transaction, this transition from dead to alive or from alive to dead. But then it would be like for every agent would be like a different. I mean, they wouldn't all change state. I mean, it's not like traditionally where it's in one generation all the cells swap. Would be like one. I mean, they could only one could switch or several. I mean, you could of course in one transaction combine more than one. But yeah, that would be possible. Would be interesting, I think. So it's like an indeterministic cellular automaton because the order in which transitions happen is like indeterministic. That sounds like a fun project. I mean, I think it's doable in Plutus. I mean, still don't really think you would need blockchain for that, but as an exercise of doing Plutus, I mean, it's interesting, I think.
Yeah, I think the cellular automata was inspiration, and so the idea was in the same way a cell looks at its neighbors to see how it can transition. The same way an agent looks at its past interactions, its past, like whatever it contains in, let's say, in the data to now determine what transaction is next possible. Like in the beginning, every agent can do any transaction, but then let's say after agent 1 does a particular transaction with agent 2, then they can do something that agent 3 can't because they haven't interacted. So like something like that. Like yeah, but
Right.
I think I get the picture. The picture is better. Yeah, I think I'm getting somewhere around it.
Okay.
Seems a bit complicated now. Okay, kind of complicated because of the asynchronous. But yes, yeah, I think I'll try. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. I think it made it more approachable because I was thinking about too many things, but now it's simple.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Any other projects or questions?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, do we
in
have more?
addition to that,
Yes.
is there a way to create addresses and signing keys using Haskell without Cardano CLI or a web wallet?
I mean, so yes. I mean, for example, with Atlas, you can. If I can share my screen, can I? Then we, it
Right? Right.
Yes,
says
you
I
can.
can't, then I have to close the whiteboard, I think, like, I think I can't close it because it's not mine. The whiteboard can only be closed by the host of the person that opened it.
Okay.
Okay.
Ah,
There you go.
thank you. Let's see if I. Class. There is, I think in all these data types, and I'm pretty sure there is somewhere. Here, I mean, for example, there's a function in Atlas to generate payment signing key. So then you have a signing key. And once you have a signing key, there are functions to get, I mean, for example, payment verification. So given a signing key, you can get a verification key. And then once you have verification key, then yeah, I forgot the step. So somewhere there's pub key hash. So I think here. Not sure what this. Okay, fine, then it's probably in keys. Okay, so there's this generate that I showed you already. No, I don't see it anymore. Here. So you can use generate payment signing key to get the signing key, then payment verification key to turn that into a verification key. Then somewhere there is, yeah, here pub key hash to get the pub key hash of that, and then once you have the pub key hash of that, you can address from pub key hash to get an address. So yeah, you can do that without the CLI or the wallet programmatically, generate fresh keys and thereby addresses. And I think in Lucid, for example, you can also do that, generate a new key.
Yes. Usually you use you can, but usually you just import or use the wallet.
Yeah, but I suppose, I mean, if probably for his simulations, he wants to set up like 1,000 agents.
Yes.
And then.
Yes. It actually has some simulation capabilities, some testing capabilities, similar to Bluetooth simple model. And yes, for that it uses generates fake basically. But
I mean,
it has access to Cardano simple library. No, the one by Emurgo in the
oh yeah. Cardano serialization lib.
yeah. So they can do everything that that library can. So you can, in principle, create your own keys.
I mean, there's also use cases for that if it's, I mean, not just simulation. I mean, sometimes, I mean, especially when we're talking about trading bots and so on. I mean, if you want to create like 100 bots that run in parallel, then probably you don't want to by hand generate keys for them, but you want to do it programmatically and then like programmatically send them some funds and let them trade and then somehow programmatically collect the money again in the end. So I think there are good use cases for generating keys on the fly.
Yeah.
Does that answer that question, Jason?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So
yeah, so that I don't actually, I suppose all these, Atlas and Lucid, they all use like the same underlying thing, but I don't know whether that's in the Cardano API or even lower level Cardano ledger or something. But there's like in the Cardano libraries, there is a way to generate keys. And then there are various APIs to access that. But yeah, you don't need to do it manually. There's also, there's a Cardano wallet, I think it's called, with the higher level way. So if you don't just want a key, if you want like a wallet, like a master key with passphrase and so on, there are also ways to do that programmatically.
And you can actually have Cardano we have the Cardano addresses tool that is
Right.
also made for that specific, but that's like a CLI, so defeats the purpose of using programming language.
Right, but I think Cardano wallet, there's also like it's also a Haskell library, so you can also programmatically do that, I think.
Yeah, if you use Haskell, yes, like or like Cardano wallet, Cardano address as well, we have APIs for that. Cardano address has as well.
Mm-hmm. Right. Any more questions, Jason?
Or anyone else?
not right now, but yeah, I'm still like kind of thinking about what we just talked about.
We can also revisit it on Thursday. We have had some time to think about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I'll have like a minimum or something by then, maybe. I don't know.
Cool.
Hopefully.
Anyone else?
Also, if you don't have like projects, feel free to ask anything about the course. Or if you want to, I don't know, see more examples of something. Can try to come up with something. Nobody?
Sorry. This is kind of unrelated. I'm gonna do you have an example of a governance contract, like where people vote on proposals, something like that, like governance?
Not right. Not right. Not off the. Immediately, but I think there was this Pluto. I'm not sure whether that's still maintained, but there used to be this Pluto's example. Let's see. There used to be a bunch of example contracts in Pluto's. Does anybody know whether they still have that, or maybe they put it into a different repo?
I'm not sure. But those, I mean, there's a bunch of open source projects that have the contracts as well.
Use cases, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Karina. Yes. Not sure, but I think there was.
It's a bit old.
Yeah. I thought there was a use case with something with proposals, and used to be I think. This has changed now. And I mean, of course, it would I mean, well, of course, one could. I mean, we could try to come up with something now.
What are the requirements?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, typically, for example, one would have some project, and that project would have its own token. And then, I don't know, proposal would need like to vote. I mean, for a proposal to be accepted, a certain amount of tokens would have to support it, right? A certain percentage of tokens, let's say. And then the question would be, how can you do I mean, somehow I mean, the moment I mean, there all sorts of things. I mean, would it be like independent proposals? So somebody can propose something and then just get support for that? Or is it like competing proposals, like an election, where only one proposal can get elected in the end? I mean, all sorts of variations that one could think of.
An independent proposal, I'm thinking super simple structure in the datum that takes into account the total amount of tokens, the amount of tokens that have been actually voted for the proposal of that datum, and a list of all the keys that have been voted. And so then you just, if someone wants to vote, you check that that person is not in the list. But the thing is, I can just send my tokens to someone else and he can vote.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was also thinking. I mean, alternatively, you could be required to put your tokens into the vote, basically. I mean, and then of course the disadvantage is that you don't have the tokens available until. I mean, you could have a contract. The proposal is basically represented by UTXO, and then people can vote by sending updating that UTXO by sending tokens to it. And then after a certain deadline is reached, you can check, I mean, how many tokens are in there. And after the deadline, people can retrieve their tokens again. So you would need to keep track Or you could do that again with like minting a token or something, like a voting receipt, and then you could burn them again in exchange for your tokens.
Yeah, and if you want to like call it quits as before the deadline, you can just get your token back, and it will not count, but you don't
Right,
but you
right.
yeah. So it's the same liquidity token solution, but for a different problem.
Yeah, and it would be simpler because you don't have this exchange rate problem. So you would just basically for each token you
Yeah.
put in, you would get one out. And then later you can exchange them again. I mean, that would work, I suppose.
Yeah. The only restriction is that you can vote. You have to, I mean, if there are multiple proposals, you have to pick and choose, or you have to split your voting power.
Yes, which is maybe also not bad. I mean, you could send whatever 70% of your tokens to one proposal and 20% to another proposal and 10 to a third proposal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay.
Oh, yeah, thanks. I think I got in the picture. Yeah, it's liquidity. It's just liquidity, but without. Yeah.
I mean,
And Italian. Yeah.
I mean, the problem, I mean, I suppose there are much more sophisticated ways. I mean, the problem on the blockchain is I mean, identity is not so easy. I mean, like if you have a whatever club or like an actual company with shareholders or so, then I mean, people can vote and you just write down their names and maybe they need to present their passport or something, and then but I mean, there's nothing like that on the blockchain, not directly. So you can't, I mean, what Robertino originally thought that you just note down their stake key or something, that doesn't really work because one person could, I mean, you can easily create 20 wallets. So you could have 20 stake keys under your own control. So therefore you need some like limited resource, and the obvious choice is tokens. And so that's one complication. And then the other problem is that it's not really anonymous. I mean, people can see on the blockchain, basically at least the wallet that voted for something. And I mean, there are ways like the zero knowledge proof stuff to make that anonymous, I think. But I'm unfortunately no expert on that. But I think the like proper voting systems on blockchain are supposed to basically keep anonymity, that you don't. I mean, that it's like secret votes where people don't see what you voted for. But for that, you need like heavier cryptographic machinery. But for a simple thing, I mean, that would work, that you just vote with your tokens. I think on Catalyst, for example, I mean, I don't know how it is now, but like a year ago, it was very off-chainish and centralized. So basically, yeah. But you can do that more secure. But yeah, it depends exactly. I mean, what you want. I mean, there's also, of course, multi-sig. I mean, if it's just, I mean, if it's not some arbitrary proposals, if it's more like releasing. I mean, I think the example that I was looking for here, what I'm still sharing, but I think they removed it. There was an example in there where people, I mean, it's like, I mean, where it was about where to send money. So somebody could propose basically to send so and so many funds to that address, to a certain address, and then basically people could accept, I mean, accept that proposal, And then after a certain deadline had been reached, then the one with the, I mean, the money was sent to the winner basically, or something like that. I mean, that you can also do. I mean, where the proposal is not some English text, but the proposal is basically an address and an amount. And if it's accepted, that means that the amount is sent to that address. And then, of course, you could think that the address represent different projects also that want to get that people vote on to fund.
Yeah, that actually answers a good use case I had in mind. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions or anything?
Maybe after today, next lesson, we will have more questions once they know that what are the type of questions we're looking for, which is like any question is fine, basically. So feel free to ask any question. We don't mind to repeat ourselves. If we already said it, it's okay.
Yes, and can also, I mean, of course, be about like Haskell, for example. Doesn't necessarily have to be Pluto's question.
Okay. There's something I came across. Common nodes. Could you give like a quick, I don't know, intuition about it? Like common nodes, like what? Like I've seen they're useful for infinite data streams, but I'm not sure I understand them fully from what I've seen. Like could you give like
Right. Let me just think quickly. Yeah, that's actually that's good. Let me just, I'm still sharing, right? Yeah. Let me just close this. Some point, me just whatever. Why? It's probably because why does that now not work?
You have Docker running.
Yes.
Maybe rerun, retry. If it so the second time doesn't work, now we have a problem.
I think I mean it should be fine. I don't have to open it in the container, I suppose. Don't know what I did. No.
Did you pull the latest changes, Lars?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, because that should like work.
I mean, I'm now back in the Haskell examples. I mean, the Plutus would work.
Right.
Let's see.
No, but you're right, but you are in PP. Oh, right. No, it's okay. It's the branch. It's the branch. No, I didn't say it.
Not sure I need any of this, but maybe. Probably this won't work now because Because Pascal versions, hang just a second.
Maybe you can just remove the version of base and it will compile.
Right. Yes. Good point. Ah, okay. That makes sense. Obviously. Sorry, just need a second. Why can it take so long to just compile something that doesn't do anything? Anyway. Oh yeah, okay, fine. It's the wrong folder.
Yeah, yeah. Outside the 3 months.
Yeah. How do I really?
I think it's already at the same level. You have to delete 3 monads.
It is already. Okay, okay. Okay, now it should hopefully work. Yeah, okay, fine. Did it work? Yeah. Okay, so I mean, first of all, a monad. I mean, I know we had like split it basically. I mean, monad has return and bind, but we had this split with applicative, where the pure and so on. So, but if we like traditional monad, I mean, this is now not the definition we had, but we had. I mean, it's basically this. I love Copilot. Anyway, right, and I think we talked about this, but there's also this join. I basically don't have to do anything. And
The compiling know about you wanted to write.
yes. So right. So you can express join in terms of bind, and you can also I mean, I could have bind. I mean, it's already defined. So in terms of join, so bind mf. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fine. Yeah. Fine. My point is just, I mean, we introduced monad like this, or rather we said it's applicative and then monad, but I mean, this is what a monad is. And my point is just, you can also define this join operation, which we did actually when we talked about concurrency, we used that at some point. And my point is just, so you can express join in terms of bind and bind in terms of join. So it's equivalent. So one could define a monad also in terms of bind. So I could instead say join M MA to MA. So that's basically equivalent. So that's a monad. I mean, for whatever historical reason, or it's more convenient to work with bind, but it's equivalent. So if you have the one, you have the other. Right. And in category theory, Co normally means, I mean, like roughly speaking, it means you turn all the errors around. I mean, for example, we have this product. I mean, like pairs, pair AB, and then we have first and second, right? First goes from A comma B to A, and second goes from A comma B to B. And basically, there's also a co-product which we know as either in Haskell, and there's something like left in. Right. So if you look at product and I mean at pair and either, which in category theory would be called product and co-product, then you see that, I mean, here you have first and second, goes from AB to A and AB to B. And for either, it's all the other way around. So instead of going from AB to A, you have something from A to co-product AB and from B to co-product AB. That's why this is also called co-product. So you have product, and then co-product is basically where all the errors are the other way around. And so that leads me to the definition of a comonad. So if you have a functor, if M is a functor, then M is a comonad, where you have, I mean, you would have co-return, but that is called extract. And Copilot is just too good to be true. And basically the co-join, I mean, I could call this like co-return. And this is like co-join. But the names are just different. So basically, instead of return, which takes an A and embeds it into the monad, you have something that is called extract, goes the other way around from the co-monad into this A, and instead of join, it basically collapses two layers of the monad into one. You have other way around from MA to MMA. And that's called duplicate. And there's also, anyway, there was this other thing that it suggested. I shouldn't have deleted that so fast. What was that? What's that called? Extend, exactly. That's like anyway. So that's like the co-bind. I mean, this here again, as you can express the join in terms of bind, you can also express the extend in terms of duplicate. So let's see. Maybe we can do this actually, like a default extend, yeah, like this. So if I have something like an F and this MA, so then I duplicate, so I get from MA to MMA, and then I have F from MA to B. So if I F map that, I get from MMA to MB. So that's combined. Anyway, so that's a comonad, and that explains why it's called comonad, because it flips basically the errors around of a monad. And that, of course, doesn't answer your question what it's good for. And this is actually something I've always been interested in, or that I find very interesting. I mean, monads are extremely important in Haskell and are all over the place. And one should think that then comonads should also be very important. I mean, for example, here with product and sum, or product and co-product, I mean, both pairs and either are very important in Haskell. So, I mean, both ways of errors basically are important. So one should think that co-monads are also very important, but somehow they are not as important as monads. But nevertheless, they're useful. But I mean, your question is what they're good for. And somehow people, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, people always say it's like a data structure with a focus on one element. Yeah, and you also get like for these classical monads like state, you also get something like co-state, and so there are co-monadic versions of that. But I mean, so I think that thing I like best to think about that is like you have some sort of container of A's or container where you can where one element is in focus, and that is the one that gives you this extract. So it's a bit like a data structure with a cursor, where the cursor points at one of the elements. And my favorite comonad is actually tape. So let's do a tape. So the idea is yeah, exactly what Copilot says it is. So the idea is it's like, for example, like a tape of numbers. So we have like whatever, and then something in focus. So a tape is just like an infinite sequence of numbers, but one is, I mean, for example, yeah, I don't know, like an old film projector, like a roll of film, and you project a film. So the one of the little images on the film is projected right now. And that's like the one where whatever that's called, the technical part, maybe you as an engineer know, Robertino. But the whatever. So you have this film, and one of the pictures on the film is projected to the wall, and that's like the one in focus. And that's a comonad. So let's see why. So first of all, it's a functor. I mean, we can derive functor. That's trivial. Let's derive functor. Probably show is not such a good idea. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be infinite lists, but let's, if it's infinite list, then we can't really display it, obviously. So let's derive functor. Okay, and now let's try to see why this is a comonad. So instance comonad tape, where? So the extract, I have a tape with stuff on the left. Oh yeah, and by the way, I think the best way, I mean, this thing here would be tape, and now the list on the left would not be 7. I mean, it would start at the middle, so it would be 3, 4, 5, 17, and whatever. Then the thing in focus would be the 40. Yeah, like what Copilot suggests. So the point is, this lift is like the other way around. So it starts at the center, and then these are the elements on the left of the element in focus, and these are the elements on the right. So that's the way I want to interpret this. Okay, so extract would ignore the thing on the left and on the right and just give me that one element, extract. And now let's think about join, not join, duplicate. Okay, and before we can do duplicate, so the idea, yeah, sure, he can do it, but so duplicate means I now have a tape of tapes, and I mean, what does it? What's the so now M is tape. So I must take a tape and turn it into a tape of tapes. And the idea here, I mean, somehow on this tape, I mean, that's like glaring us in the face. I mean, operation we want to move the focus left or right. Right? I mean, that's the obvious thing we would like to do with a tape. So let's implement this first. So let's call it left, or left from tape to tape. So left of, yeah, exactly what it says. So we have the elements on the left of the focus and the elements on the right. And now the first element on the left, this L, becomes the new focus. The others shift accordingly. And the element that used to be in focus, the X, is now on the right. So, and everything else is, well, he suggests that if the list is finite, okay, fine. Why not? Then we don't do anything. So we don't move left if we, but I think I would just, I'm not sure whether it's a good idea to, why not? Okay, fine. And of course you can do the same on the right. Thank you, Copilot. Right. So if we move to the right, so then the 7 would be in focus. The 42 would now be on the left as well. And the old right elements. So starting at 9 would be the new right elements. Okay, and with these operations, now we can implement this duplicate. So the idea of duplicate would be, I mean, we have a tape, this tape, and we want to turn it into a tape of tapes. And the idea is that basically the focus becomes the original tape. And then on the left, I mean, the one next to the focus will again be the original tape, but with the focus on the 3. The one on the right will again be the original tape with the focus on the 7. Does that make sense? So basically the idea of duplicate is, I don't know whether I can convey that. So we have 17. No, hang on. So our original one is 17, 5, 4, 3. Now was the 42. Try to think how to best draw this. 7, 9. What was it? On a 21, 11. When the numbers are completely arbitrary, of course. Right, and then now the idea would be, so this is now the focus, the one that we would extract. So when we extract, we get our original tape map. And now this one would have the 3 in focus. So everything is shifted 1. Like this. And here we would shift in the other direction. So it would be 5, 4, 3, 22, 7, 9, 11.
Maybe you can add, just to make it painfully clear, at the end of line 37, like focus or something.
Mm-hmm.
The word.
I mean, so this one would, the focus, I mean, yeah, this would be the focus of the tapes. I mean, something like this. But then there's also like the vertical focus. So we start with this tape, and now we must turn that into a tape of tapes. So the idea is to basically always have those numbers. But so the focus of the tapes will be the original tape. and then the tape of, I mean, the tape next to the original tape will again be the original tape, but shifted to the left, and then twice to the left and so on. And on the right, we shift to the right and so on. So that's the idea. And now, of course, we must somehow implement that. I mean, I could just listen to what he says. Well, there you have it. So I'm not sure, have we ever talked about the iterate function? So let me just open a REPL. So iterate, that's in the base libraries. So it takes a function and a start element and produces a list. And the idea is the first element of the list will be the given element. The next element will apply the function to it, and so on. So for example, if I do +1, I mean iterate +1, 7. Let's say 7 is an int. And it will be an infinite list. So let's just take the first 10 elements. So it starts with 7, then applies the function, in this case +1 to 7 gets 8, applies the function again, gets 9, and so on. So if I do instead +2, then it again start at 7, but then always add 2. So this here we see in the focus of the tape of tapes is the original tape T. And then to get the left elements, we start with T and iterate applying left to it. But we take the tail because, I mean, the first element of this would be T itself, which we already have. And on the right, we do the same with right. So if I did have the show instance. So if I have my example tape, the tape int. So example tape would be tape by 3, 4, 5, 17, like this. Nice. So my example tape is this, and if I take duplicate example tape, then that's bad. Sorry, because it's an infinite thing, the iterate. So actually, so probably I shouldn't do it like that. The problem is tail of the empty list is also the empty list, right? No, it's not. Sorry. But because this left. So this is a bit wrong, I think. I think this only works for like infinite lists. Try to think whether I should allow finite lists or not. Of course, in this case, it should basically stop when it shouldn't produce an infinite list out of that. So the easiest would be that I insist on infinite lists, but then I don't have that example anymore. Then it's more elegant if it's infinite lists. Okay, fine. Let me do this then. Then the show doesn't make sense. Right. Then let me remove this again. And let's just say this. Sorry. I think it's better to do this with infinite lists. Then we just must work a bit harder to display it nicely. Right. So that would be that. And the idea is you can now do, I mean, this comonad thing, especially with this extend. If we look at the extend now, so given something, I mean, in our case, it would be if I have a function from tape somewhere, and I have a tape, then that gives me a tape. So, and the way you can think about it, if I basically know how to produce an element on, I mean, with a specific element in focus, then the extent will extend that to all the other elements in focus. And especially, I mean, we were talking about cellular automatons earlier. And for example, here one could do a nice thing. Does anybody know what an interesting one is for? Just see. So for example, let's call it cellular or something. So if I have like a rule, like Jason said, so let's say I know, given the state of my left neighbor, myself, and my right neighbor, I can update like this. Then I can have something from tape pool to tape pool. So, okay, let's do this. Cellular. So I have my update rule and I have my tape. So I just extend. Right, and this must now be a function from tape bool to bool, okay. And let me, right. So G must be from tape bool to bool. The idea is this is now the new state of the focus cell. So how do I get the new state of the focus cell? Like this. So the focus cell is X, the first left neighbor is L, the first right neighbor is R, so I apply this function F to those three. And why is that not? Oh, yeah, because it's not exhausted. G. Right. Okay, and now we can, if we now, in order to try it, of course, we need some rule and some example tape. So I don't know. Let's see. Let me just Google that quickly. One-dimensional cellular automata. I just want an interesting rule where some interesting pattern happens. I mean, this looks pretty, this one, for example. So let's try to get that rule 18. And I think they do start with a single cell. That's okay, rule 18. How do rules work? The numbering system, current pattern, new state for center cell. Right. So right. So rule 18 means, and just sorry, I try to remember how that works. So it's 4 bits, right? That would only give 16 rules though. Just a second. Right. Yeah, sorry. So you need to say, I mean, these are the possibilities. So it's always on the left, center, right, and there are 8 possibilities. And then you have, for each of those, you have like you can say what happens, right? So it's 8 bits. So basically, a one-dimensional cellular automaton is completely determined by filling out this table. So I know what happens. I mean, in the possible 8 cases for the center, I mean, for the cell I'm looking at, and the left and the right neighbor, there are 8 possibilities because, I mean, it's 2, 2, 2, so 8. And for each of the 8 cases, I must say whether in the next iteration, it should be 0 or 1. So I have 8 bits, so 256 possibilities. And they now say, I mean, this one looks interesting. This rule, sorry, maybe not 80. Let's have it on top. No, at the bottom. So the one that looks pretty is rule 18. Okay, and rule 18 means, what does it mean? 1 plus 16. So it's 1 and 2, 4, 8. Right. So that means in this case and in that case, it should be 1. Otherwise, it should be 0. Okay, I hope I got that right, but doesn't matter. We can try it out. So let's do rule 18 is rule. So rule 18, left, center, right. So what was it? So I said either if all 3 are 0, so it's not L and not X and not R, or 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, or left and not X and not R. I hope I got that right. So now we could in principle do that, but of course we would like to, so let's define the init tape as the one that, so this tape pool. So it's tape where we only have false, true in the middle, and only false on the right. So now we could do one step, and now we need some sort of print function. So print tape, tape pool IO. And let's say we take, I don't know how many columns I have in my screen. Does it? Okay. Okay, let's say 120. So let's say I take 50 on the left, the one in the center, and 50 on the right. For M, so sorry, so let's take tape lefts, X, rights. So I take 50 of the lefts, but I must reverse it, of course. Then I take the one in the center and I take 50 on the right. Must import for M. And I put character, yeah, like that. Or let's put a dot. Okay, and then a new line, let's say. Let's try it out quickly. Print tape, init tape. Okay, something doesn't work. Because I can't reverse. I must take, sorry, I must first take 50, obviously, and then reverse, because I'm trying to reverse an infinite list here. Sorry. Well, yeah. Let's try this. Okay, looking good. And now let's say print cellular int bool IO print cellular n rule go n init tab. Copilot very helpful again. Right. Let's see. Okay. Very helpful, but not perfect. Still good to have a human in the loop. Okay. Print cellular 50 rule 18. Okay, I obviously got something with the rules wrong. Because that's, I mean, it works, but it's boring. So we just see whether they say this is 124. So it would be 1, 2, oh yeah, 18. I did 17. I had 0, 0, 0. It's 0, 0, 1. That explains it. This is wrong here. 0, 0, 0 is wrong. It's like this. Haha. Okay. Nice, isn't it?
Yeah, really nice.
Cool.
Right. So this is basically, I mean, how I always picture Comonad. So it's something, a data structure with a focus, like I mean, a container of A's where A is in focus. Like in the simplest example is this tape, where we have like our read write head or our read head on one element. Then we can shift the tape left or right. And then if it's a Comonad, I mean, that's basically encoding this left right. So we can turn this tape into a tape of tapes like this, where basically all possible foci are now there. And then what the Comonad gives you is you basically, if you say what you want to do with the element in focus, then you can extend that to doing something with all elements. So instead of having to explicitly do this cellular automaton to say that I want to do this like with all cells simultaneously, all I have to do is basically say what I want to do, what the next state of the one in focus should be. And so, I mean, this is what I did here. So I then use the fact that I have a comonad. So I just apply. So G tells me given a tape, and if I just know the element in focus and the element to its left and its right, I say what the next state should be. And then using the comonadic extend, I can extend that to, I mean, this operation to the whole tape. And now I just had to like struggle a bit because I have infinite lists to display this. And then, yes, so that's that. And of course, you could do the same example with 2-dimensional and then do the game of life, for example. But then instead of a tape, you would need something like a 2-dimensional array where you have focus on one array element. And then you could have operations like left, right, up, down, or something. And so that's one example of comonads. And I think another example, I mean, I've never actually tried that, but people always say menu systems, like in websites, are comonads. So I think basically the data structure is the menu, and then the focus is the item where you are at the moment. So your position, I mean, the tab or whatever that you have active right now. So that would also be a comonad, where basically then the menu of menus is then the menu always repeated, but always like the focus, I mean, a different selected tab or a different selected menu item. So in a sense, yeah, HTML menu or something. So whenever you have something, some structure where one element is focused, or you could also, whatever, imagine, I mean, a graph or something where one node is selected, and then you can maybe move along edges to different nodes that then in turn become selected. So things like that. So it's useful, but it's by far not as useful as monads for some reason, which I find very interesting because somehow, I mean, in a sense, if you swap all arrows around in a category, it shouldn't change anything. I mean, really. So somehow I find it's an interesting question why monads are so much more useful than comonads. So some people think that the real use of comonads has just not been found yet. But I mean, I find it fascinating. It's also, the character is completely different. I mean, a monad has something to do with effectful computations, whereas a comonad seems to have something to do with data structures. And yeah, and actually, I mean, we talked about free monads. There's also free comonads. So free monad, basically, once you have a functor, you can get the associated free monad, and you can also, to a functor, get the associated free comonad. And there are also use cases for that. Right now, I've forgotten. I think it can basically model interactions, but I unfortunately I forgot that now. But it's quite interesting. So there's something like where you combine somehow, if you have a monad and a comonad, you can combine the two and it's like an interaction, but that's now vague. I mean, I can maybe for Thursday I can look that up. So you can do some interesting things with comonads as well. But I mean, like my canonical example is always cellular automata, and then you can do this. Let's just see, is there another cool one? This is actually the prettiest I find. As we see, there are several of those. And you also get these chaotic ones where it's like it looks completely random. I mean, probably the next step which is interesting, right? I mean, we have like the boring ones that don't do anything or very, very regular. Then we have like these fractal ones. And then we have the ones that look completely random. And I think the most interesting ones are those that like have combined. I mean, those are the ones that are like a game of life, where you can have, I mean, basically computation happening. But anyway, so I mean, obviously one should implement, instead of hard coding rule 18, one should like write it so that you can do all the rules. And anyway, here, nice pictures. This looks interesting. But I think here they start with something else. Maybe all cells activated or whatever. No idea. Right, does it answer your question, Jason? Was it Jason?
Oh yeah. It more than answers. It's pretty cool. Yeah. That's
Yes.
it.
So yeah, so comonads, I mean, monads have more this flair of computation, side effects, and so on, whereas comonads are more data structure like. It's more passive thing somehow. Yeah, so whenever one, yeah, you can. It's always this aspect of basically, or something with the cursor, something with the focus. Whenever that makes sense.
Is a good strategy for combining a monad and a comonad, like monad transformers. Is a like yeah.
Then there is something, as I said, that I must find that again. Maybe I can prepare that for Thursday. There was something combined. So I must look that up again. This stuff, as you can see. Yeah, but I can't. I think I don't have a good answer now. Maybe I must look that up for Thursday. But there are. I mean, you can somehow, especially if you have like a free monad and a free comonad through the same functor, then there's a way to make like pair the one with the other. But I forgot how exactly it works. I can. And then I think it has nothing to do with transformers. I'm not sure whether there are comonad. I think actually there are comonad transformers as well. So you have something like the state. Right. I think there's something like the state comonad as well. State. Actually, of course, Edward Kmet, the one that wrote lenses, of course, also has a package for comonads, obviously. And I think the equivalent of the state monad is the store comonad. Right, and comonad store and right, and that is basically just a function. This is this is now a comonad transformer. The W can think identity. So it's just a function from A to S basically. So you can do I think he calls it differently. He calls it, let's see. No, he does have the extract, the duplicate, and the extend. Right. Anyway, must look at this stuff again myself. But the point is there also, I mean, as you see here, so he defines what a comonad is. And then you also have transformers, like store, comonadic transformers. But as I said, I'm not really sure how I mean, they're not as often used, certainly, as monads. But you can do like transformers and free, you can do for comonads as well. Then you have the store comonad transformer and env and whatever. But okay, so we also have a reader equivalent. So the reader comonad is called env environment, I think. What's that? Yeah. What is the what the no idea. Must look that up again. But yeah, so you do have equivalents for reader and state in the comonad world. But as I said, it's not as commonly used or as useful as monadic stuff. But there are some some nice things one can do with it. Maybe I can look that up for Thursday. I forgot. . Anything else?
Not for me. So
Okay. Something. Right. Well, does anybody else has a question or remark? Okay, then I suppose, I mean, we are almost done with the time anyway, then maybe if nobody else has something, we can stop for now, for today. And then on Thursday, maybe you, I mean, some of you have more questions, or those that had projects have something more to ask for that. And I can also look up this Comunat stuff again. Maybe I have a better example or another example.
Okay.
Okay, then let's stop for today, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, then thank you very much, and see you on Thursday for our last lecture.
See you, everyone.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.